in front of the Eiffel Tower, and we have Sam SCHRODER and Niels VINK of the Netherlands taking on Andy LAPTHORNE and Greg SLADE of Great Britain, #1 seeds against the #2 seeds. The doubles pairing in the commentary box is me, Drew Lilly, and Joe Wallen alongside me. It could not be a better lineup, could it?
It's exciting. It's exciting for both these players, all four of them, and I know I'm excited for this and to see what comes, and we'll see whether the Dutch team can make it back-to-back golds.
Exactly. They won 3 years ago in Tokyo 2020, so it's been a short Olympic cycle. And the team that they beat in the final there, well, they're not here this time around. Dylan Alcott has retired, and Heath Davidson not with us this time around. He pulled out just before the Paralympics to look after his mother, who is in palliative care. So Heath, all the very best to you, and I'm sure Dylan Alcott will be watching this one and seeing whether indeed Niels on wheels, as he's known, Niels VINK and Sam SCHRODER, can make it 2 in a row. And the fans there in orange, the Oranje, who will have popped over the border, well, a couple of borders that have gone through Belgium to get here, but it's a direct train journey. There we go, Niels on wheels indeed is what it says on the t-shirt there. There'll be plenty of orange in the crowd and plenty of Brits who will have made it down on the Eurostar as well. So it's one of the advantages of Paris. You can get here from on direct trains from so many capitals in Europe.
And what a great atmosphere it's been for these players, playing out in front of full sold-out stadiums. It's just been, and it's great to watch.
Now they come, the representatives of Team GB. Andy LAPTHORNE, 33 years old and #3 in the world in doubles. Greg SLADE, 22 years old, #13. And then there we have a look last time. There is Dylan Alcott. But all eyes now on Sam SCHRODER leading them out, and behind him Niels VINK. SCHRODER, 24. 21 years old, Niels VINK seems to be been around for quite some time. He's been winning Grand Slams for the past 4 years. VINK is #1 in the world in doubles. Just got his nose in front of SCHRODER, who is #2.
Take a look at the chairs here, and we're watching the players transfer from the everyday chair to their wheelchairs, their tennis playing chairs. You'll notice a little bit of difference. The camber of the wheels, that enables them to move quickly, be super agile, use the hips to move. Then you'll notice the tip bars in the back, and when they start playing, you'll notice why they need a tip bar in the back. They're going to be going really far back, especially for their serve, for the kick serve. And then you'll notice as well, each chair is very clearly defined and made for each person's needs specially. So you'll see a little bit more high top for some of the players, and then a little bit lower. Some of them will be sitting up higher depending on what they're able to do. They'll strap themselves in. They're usually strapped right around the waist, usually around the knees and around the feet, to keep themselves one with the chair so they can move as quick as possible.
Quite often strapping as well around the upper limbs to attach the rackets as well.
Yes, in the quad division, some of them need to. We look at the Dutch coaches here. Watch Sam, he will attach the racket to his hand. He has a nice mechanical, I don't even know what you call that, but he will literally, it's already to the racket, and then he's going to place his hand in and he'll strap the hand to the racket. So if you notice that and you've played tennis before, you're thinking, how are they going to change grips, or how is he going to change grips? He's not going to. He will keep the same grip as for every shot. So he'll do the forehands, the backhand, which will be the inverted backhand, and the serve, which is very hard to do using the same grip.
Quick shot there of Antonija Drazic, who is the chair umpire for this gold medal match. Niels VINK is the first one to get ready. He's itching to get out there. This is the only time there's any real ado, as it were, in wheelchair tennis. It tends to be the quickest brand of tennis. There's no hanging around, there's no disappearing off to get your towel in between points, and there's no bouncing of the ball for 25 seconds before the service and running down the shot clock and then arguing with the chair umpire if you get called for a time violation. We don't have any of that. We have a lot of quick fire entertainment, and that's what these fans have come to see in the beautiful Philippe Chatrier court. Antonia Drazic to take it away now. So VINK and SCHRODER decide to serve. They don't want to put pressure on their opponents. They think, right, well, we've got good enough services to get our noses in front right from the very off. And that's actually an interesting decision, because most in wheelchair tennis, you actually see people receiving more. So it's actually more important to break the return than it is to actually hold. So it's actually, if you hold, that's a good thing. So it's interesting. I think that shows actually how confident they're going to be here. A lot of breaks of service in wheelchair tennis. So yes, VINK and SCHRODER saying we're quite happy to serve. That already plants a seed of doubt in the minds of LAPTHORNE and SLADE at the bottom of your screen. And then VINK and SCHRODER at the top. We'll have the usual 5-minute warm-up that we have at the start of any tennis match, and it also counts as 2 games in terms of changing the balls. You change the balls every 9 games, and the warm-up counts as 2, so we will change the balls after 7 games of this opening set. If you're just joining us for wheelchair tennis for the first time, the only difference from a rules perspective is the 2 bounces. So a lot of times they don't need 2 bounces, but obviously the ball does have to land inside the court first, and then the second bounce. So you will see it. It just depends on if they're looking to come forwards. In doubles, you'll notice straight away the strategy being very different. You're not going to see, as you would with standing, 1 up and 1 back serving, serve and volleying. You'll see them like move forwards, and they're kind of circling like sharks, coming in, trying to look to poach off the volley. And then I think all eyes are going to be on SLADE here, who is on the left side of your screen. You've got LAPTHORNE, who has years and years of experience. We see their results here. The British team having a bye the first round, and then the semis taking out the Brazilian team. But you've got SLADE, who is fairly new with the ranking. He's not quite up there yet. So really how he holds his nerves being on this court and with these 3 people is going to be of paramount importance too. Yes, SLADE the youngster, 22 years old, number 13 in the world in doubles. You look at Andy LAPTHORNE, 33 years old, alongside him. He has won Grand Slams left, right and centre. He's won them with Peter Norfolk at the beginning of his career. David Wagner as well won plenty of titles with him, including this year at the Australian Open. He's won a couple with Dylan Alcott as well in 2019 and 2020 at the US Open. So there's a lot of changes of partners at the top level, and when you're trying to win, obviously a lot of the time you're playing singles and doubles as well, and that's how the entry that was the entry criterion here. If you've qualified for singles, then that's how you get into the doubles here at the Paralympics, and obviously it's got to be with someone from your same country. Yes. They've got the advantage of playing together all the time, regardless of whether it's a team competition or not.
Yeah, and as you can see, the bye and then the first round victory, 1-1, very easy. So during the Paralympic cycle, you do see players from the same country playing together more. However, these two have played together. I mean, their records they've won basically every title that Schroeder's won has been with VINK, and the reason VINK is #1 in the world and Schroeder's 2 is because each year he has 2 more title wins than Schroeder, because he's played with other people. So you definitely see the Dutch team know each other so well, but during the Paralympic cycle you do see the same country players play. And sometimes, for example, the American David Wagner did not play doubles this time. You just mentioned him because he didn't have anybody else in the singles that got into the singles to be able to play doubles with. And that's the same as well for doubles, for the Grand Slams. You get in on your singles ranking, there's no separate doubles entries. And so sometimes that's really hard too, because you could be a really good doubles player, but you're not able to get into those Grand Slams for the points.
And that is when you get the calls coming out from the likes of Andy Lapthorne saying, Dylan, have you got a partner for this one? And let's get together. Or Donald Rampardi, he's won tournaments. He's won a Grand Slam with Donald Rampardi as well. But here he is, Niels on wheels. An absolute legend. He's a wonderful character as well. He seems to have a permanent smile on his face. It's almost fun to watch him grow up as well, because he's still incredibly young, and we've seen him grow up over the last 4 years or so that he's been at the absolute forefront of quad wheelchair tennis. So it's like seeing a nephew that you see every so often, and he grows up and gets a little bit older and gets taller in his chair.
Gets stronger.
And gets stronger as well. Certainly is getting stronger as we look at the coaches, Joop Broens and Hans-Jürgen Strick.
And you see the players too. It's commonly known just in general that the boys, the men, tend to grow more from like that 18 to 22, 23. And Niels, he was never as outgoing as he is now, because I remember him coming up through the Open and the Masters, and he was always a little bit shy. And to see him actually come out of his shell now and embrace his sport and to be a spokesperson for his sport is really nice to see.
Fans trying to see from absolutely every viewpoint. So it's best of 3 sets. If it's 1 set apiece, we will go to a match tiebreaker, which is first to 10, 2 points clear. The Dutch #1 seeds to get us underway. Sam SCHRODER to serve.
You're going to see Lapthorne pushing in more, I would imagine, than SLADE staying back a little bit. As I said, it's a little bit of a game. They're going to push forwards. They're going to look to poach off a little volley, and then they'll come back if they don't get the volley. Also quite easy in wheelchair tennis to really punish one person or put the pressure on one person, and you can already see that happening in that game. I mean, Andy's hit 2 balls so far, and so the pressure's definitely going to be focused on SLADE.
Yes, keeping it away from the #3 in the world and targeting the #13.
And when that happens, the person that doesn't hit the ball then gets the ball, they're almost not ready for it. So it's hard for them to find a rhythm, and it actually gets very frustrating for that player because they can never find a good rhythm.
Turns out to be a comfortable hold. It was the right decision by SCHRODER and VINK. SCHRODER holds to 15, and the #1 seeds take the opening game.
I think LAPTHORNE is going to have to be super aggressive. He's going to have to mix up his strokes. He's going to have to go high on the forehand, and then he's going to have to cut the backhand and try and keep the Dutch team out of rhythm if they want to get on the board quickly in this match. The Dutch are just so consistent and confident at this point in time.
Take your seats. Thank you. Players are ready.
Great pickup by VINK. VINK does really have, with his grips, because he doesn't have the racket taped to the hand, so he can have so much variety on the backhand. He can really change that grip last minute and cut it, and he's got a beautiful slice.
How about that for an overhead? Big smile, celebrated it as soon as he'd hit it.
In overheads, you think that that's actually an easy overhead, but when you're in a chair, the one thing that you're supposed to do when you're standing and hitting an overhead is turn, right? You're supposed to be able to turn your feet and turn your shoulders, and it's so hard to hit that. That was actually a really difficult overhead, but controlled it super well.
That's the good slice we are seeing from Niels VINK. Kept the ball so low, over the lowest part of the net, and there was nothing for LAPTHORNE to pick up on there. So 3 break points already. And they only need the one. An early hold from SCHRODER, and then a break of the service of LAPTHORNE, and the Dutch team lead it 2 games to love. We've had the 2 left-handers serving. Now it'll be the turn of the right-handers.
The other thing that you'll notice with wheelchair tennis, if you're watching for the first time, is that after almost every shot, their recovery is like a figure 8. They're turning their back to the court. So that's something to note too. You always have to keep your head on a swivel, basically looking over your shoulder.
The targeting continues. Slade, the youngster, being asked a lot of questions. Beautiful drop shot again. That slice backhand of Niels VINK.
He just noticed how far back in the court Lapthorne was, and he does a great job disguising it, because it looks the same, so he thinks it's going to go deep and just able to take the pace off. He's got beautiful touch.
Great rally, all four players using all the geometry of the court, but at the end of the day, it seems to be the same result every time. It's another hold for the Dutch, and they lead 3 games to love. Plenty of Oranje in the crowds. It's going to be up to the British fans to try to rouse Andy Lapthorne and Greg Slade. The latter it is, Greg Slade serving and trying to get the Brits on the board. Love 3 down. Just long with the second one. You can see he's gambling on his service. That's the thing when you up against the like of SCHRODER and VINK, you think, well, my first service has got to be absolutely perfect, and he's trying to slice one in right onto the tee. How about that? Beautiful. Get a lot of cross-court winners in wheelchair tennis, and that was a great example.
Yeah, I mean, that was taken well above his head, and he was able to get up again. You made a great point, and you said a great word, the geometry. And in wheelchair doubles, it's all about the geometry. When you see the angles and see the opening, that's where you've got to go to.
Can be the advantage of 2 bounces as well. It's always good to take it early, and we've seen particularly the Dutch team taking it on 1 bounce, but if you do have time for 2, then you really can pick your spot. if you're among the best in the world, and the two at the top of your screen certainly are. 2 more break points for the Dutch team. A couple have gone long there, so Team GB have taken it to juice.
You could hear LAPTHORNE telling SLADE there, good job, Greg. He definitely needs to keep him. He's the older one, obviously, of the two on the team, the more experienced. He's got to keep pumping him up. He cannot let himself get down. He's got to keep pumping his partner up.
Well, best rally of the match so far. A shame it ended on an unforced error of forehand going wide from SLADE, but it was typical clay court tennis. You got all 4 players a long way back. It's a huge court, Philippe Chatrier. You've got a lot of space behind the baseline, and all of them using all of that space there. The Brits almost in the photographer pits at one point.
Almost SLADE just totally misjudged that. He was trying to get the second bounce and just didn't adjust his chair last minute.
It's another break point.
Beautiful backhand there by SLADE, really deciding to go with the top spin, dropping his right shoulder, racket below the height of the ball and dropping it low and just ripping up the back. Had some good penetration on that ball.
It's minor victories, so they took it to juice to begin with, which is as near as they've got in a game, and now saving break points, so they are clawing themselves back into this tie, the Brits. Oh, how about that? That gets applause from everyone in the stadium, including the 2 opponents there. The deftest of drop shots.
That was very unexpected, but that was fantastic. That was really good.
You'll not see a better drop shot than that from behind the baseline, just over the net. You'll not see a better drop shot than that in any form of tennis. Well, it was a great second service right on the tee. LAPTHORNE, he was in the photographer pits there, I think. He was way back.
shows now that with Slade hitting that drop shot from where he just hit it from in the last point, shows he's a little bit more relaxed. His nerves have now gone from being out here. He's playing way more relaxed at this point.
Back to Juice.
Don't think he meant to do that.
That's one of those you apologise for, isn't it? It was a good service right into the body, so really cramped the Vink for room, and it meant that all he could do was slice the heck out of it, and he did.
I'm not sure I would apologise, but just it was definitely more of a lucky shot.
This is Niels Vink. He's
Exactly.
going to have a big grin and apologise. I didn't mean that, which makes it even worse.
Exactly.
Slapped away. That is Niels Vink at his most intentional and his best. And they finally do get the second break and lead 4-love.
Vink really aware of where his opponent was and where he was coming from. And again, when you're coming in the chair, you can't split step. So as they're pushing forwards, they're committing to coming in, and Vink sees that and just rips it down the line.
So we've been around the horn. Everybody has served. We've had 2 holds and 2 breaks.
Dutch coaches look pretty calm there and happy.
I think I'd look pretty calm if I were coaching either of those two. The only time you wouldn't be calm is when you're in the singles final and they're facing one another.
It's almost like after about 4 or 5 shots to Slade, he breaks down on the 4th or 5th. It's like the power becomes too much for him, and he gets tight and he's stopping his swing somewhat. We always say in doubles, whether you're standing or playing in a wheelchair, communication is key. Even more so, you're hearing almost in between every shot, like who's taking it, I got it, go up, go forward, stay back. They have to communicate where they're going, because if you watch as well, they're switching sides quite a lot, so they have to know where their partner is.
Yes, the Dutch pairing, it tends to be you. It's one telling the other, jij, you, each time. You rarely hear ik, so I or me. 15:30, so a sniff of an opening here for the Brits to try to get one of the breaks back. Went around that to take it on the forehand and almost had too much time to do it. So 2 break points. SCHRODER's turn to be targeted, but they've saved one of the break points. Even when the Dutch pairing swapped around, the Brits carried on targeting SCHRODER, who seems to have started the slower of the two into the match. And there's one of the breaks back. That was beautifully picked up out of the air. And Great Britain on the scoreboard, but the Dutch pairing lead it 4-1 in the first set. The British pairing of LAPTHORNE and SLADE are on the board. And they've got on the board via a break of the #2 player in the world, Sam SCHRODER. It's going to be Andy LAPTHORNE, #3 in the world now, to see if he can get a hold. SCHRODER and VINK lead 4-1.
Thank you. Take your seats, please, quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Players are ready.
You talked in the last game about more balls being hit to SCHRODER. One of the reasons that that's happening is that SCHRODER's super consistent, but he doesn't have the weapons that VINK has. VINK can hit that slice, he can hit the heavy forehand, so that he's not as dangerous to them, but his consistency is dangerous.
The Niels VINK slice. Putting on a backhand clinic today.
LAPTHORNE saying, got to get it out of the middle.
It was dug out well by SLADE, the previous shot, but that one asked a little bit too much of him, so a break to love. VINK and SCHRODER lead 5-1, and VINK it'll be to try to serve this one out and take the opening set. See how far back the Brits are positioned. Oh, the bounce there. Bit of top spin, taking it right over the top there.
Great racket head acceleration that caused it to have that extra spin. You talked about the players starting back on the return. So I'm not going to stop here, I'm going to keep going. But you see the players, they'll push forwards, 2 pushes usually. So that would be the equivalent of us moving forwards and doing a split step. They can't do the split step, so they're moving forward, so their body's in motion. They can go which way they want to go on the return serve.
Just long.
That's where SCHRODER really needed to slice, but because of the grip that he's got, the semi-western that he goes over the other side, he can't do that. So that's because it was low and he needed to take the pace off and slice that, and he just wasn't able to.
Oh, that's beautifully positioned. That backhand that just kisses the tram line. They needed that point as well.
They did. That was really good work from SCHRODER there, seeing that they'd both pushed in. And so the forehand, he knew he needed to go deep behind SLADE. He got it perfectly. As you said, kiss the tram line.
What a service that was there, really arching the back.
Remember we were talking about tip bars? That's why, because when they go back, they've got to be able to have that control and not fall out.
Those slapped backhands from Niels VINK, able to change the grip from the slice to over the top, and that sets up a set point. A second service ace into the corner on the backhand side. What a way to seal the opening set. It's VINK and SCHRODER who take it 6-1 after half an hour. Well, the first ace of the contest. If you're going to pull that one out of your pocket, then why not do it on set point on second service?
And if we look at the stats here, I mean, really, when you've got more winners than unforced errors, that's going to make you win the match right there. There's not many matches where you have more unforced errors than winners and winning, and you can see the winners from the Dutch team way higher and way less unforced errors. Few highlights of the match here. Again, VINK in total control of the match, really doing a great job being aggressive and with his soft hands and his slice as well. And then SCHRODER being the very consistent one. This was one of the better rallies, and the amazing overhead here from VINK. Just love the way he kind of goes back, rolls back. He's like, yeah, I got it.
And there's perhaps a more familiar pattern from the opening sets. Almost all four players a long way behind the baseline until they're dragged in. We're here at Philippe Chatrier Court. Those of you who watch standing tennis, it's a little bit like watching Rafael Nadal versus Daniil Medvedev. They keep disappearing off way behind the baseline, but lots of movement on this one, and then slapped into the corner by VINK. But let's finish it off with an ace. C'est comme ça from French rock stars from the 80s, les Rita Mitsuko. The stadium DJs have been pulling out some absolute classics that French fans have been singing along to throughout the Olympics and the Paralympics. Been doing a cracking job of it. Second set getting us underway. Andy Lapthorne.
Brits have to do something different. It's hard to say that because what can they do? Maybe on their returns they need to push up, as we saw the French do so well so far this Paralympics. Move in, take the ball on the rise, just put a little bit of pressure on the Dutch team, because the Dutch team have played almost a perfect first set, so we've got to do something a little different to get them out of their rhythm.
Well, slicing lefty service that drifts away from the opponent. If they can keep on doing that,
that's one way.
That's one way of doing it. Yes, hit it where the opponents aren't and can't get to. That's the kind of thing we're going to see. They're going to be gambling on almost every service.
That high topspin forehand always works really well for Lapthorne. It's when he slows his racket head speed down, where the ball doesn't jump after it bounces, that he gets into trouble. When he accelerates his racket head speed and gets over it fast, then the ball's going up super high. So again, being more aggressive is what he needs to do.
That is the kind of shot to play as well on clay. So the clay, particularly when it's a bit warm and muggy, the clay will grip the ball far more than a hard court and lots more than a grass court, and it'll spit the ball back up.
You see Slade trying to push in there. He really tried to be more aggressive, just catches that. He's on his forehands. He's catching that ball actually a little bit late, and that's when the balls are flying. He's very late on that forehand. That's when his unforced errors have come in.
An early break point and an early break point taken. So Schroeder and VINK lead by a set and a break. 1-love, 1-love.
Well, we have a quick change of ends here. When we talk about the grip, so most of the players are pushing with a semi-Western forehand grip. So they've got their racket and their hand on the chair, so they're able to push. So they're using a semi-Western forehand grip. Then what they do is they use the opposite side of the backhand, so they don't change the grip, and then they hit an inverted or reverse backhand up. It's really hard to do if you're standing and doing it. I suggest you check with your doctor first, because you'll probably hurt your elbow or shoulder. But that's why it looks a little different. And then on that one, VINK stayed with his serve grip, which is a continental, more of a traditional, and was able to come underneath it. So he actually is one of the very few that changed kind of his grips a little bit quicker than most others.
Interesting to see that it's VINK opening the serving for the Dutch pairing this time around.
See how much pace as well VINK gets into his serve. His chair actually comes up off the ground. So when he's reaching up and he's accelerating his racket up, the whole chair comes off the ground a little bit and turns. One of the very few unforced errors from VINK on that forehand, and guess what? He's still smiling.
A wry smile there. He almost had a little bit too much time, a little bit too much space, and got a little bit too cute. Two in a row, though, so he's not going to smile at that one because he's backed himself into a bit of a corner to the tune of a break point, a break back point for Lapthorne and Slade. VINK decided to get over there and take it, but was on the move, not in the right position, and it's an immediate break back.
Really smart play for Lapthorne there. Saw how far back in the court they were and just did his drop shot. It was the right play for VINK, just not quite timing that ball. And Lapthorne doing a really good job trying to get the crowd to help them somewhat.
So we are back on service. Took a while for the Brits, a long while for the Brits to get on the board in the first set. They've done it on the first receiving game of the second. Pressure now on Slade. Good deep return from VINK.
And then was coming in behind it too, so really puts additional pressure on the person that's receiving that ball.
The wheelchair equivalent of a chip and charge. Lapthorne encouraging his younger partner all the way. That ball turns square there, incredible slice. 90-degree angle.
That's a major side spin on it too. Just really cut around it as you see it hits and goes away. He saw it was coming there, just didn't quite get there quick enough.
low over the lowest part of the net there on the forehand from SCHRODER.
If you're watching the point too, if you watch the chairs moving, the Dutch players never stop their chairs moving in a point. They're constantly moving, even if it's a little move of the hips. SLADE is probably the one that's stopping the most, and then it's hard for him to make those adjustments when needed.
After every good service, there's a good boy from LAPTHORNE, and 40-30. A point here for the British team to get their noses in front on the scoreboard. They did everything right there, the British team. They were targeting SCHRODER. They were trying to keep the rally long, and
just a little bit of that inexperience. You've got a point to go up 2-1 after losing the first set, and just an unforced error there. Just needed to get the ball back in play, just showing his inexperience.
Hit it right at the wheels of SLADE there. That's the way to do it.
Yep.
Break point for the Netherlands pairing. And there is the VINK backhand. It's been the trademark of this final. And they get themselves back in front, 2-1 and 1 set to love. Quick 2-minute change of ends. Tell me you're Dutch without telling me you're Dutch.
Yeah.
That was what that Dutch fan was doing there.
They wear their colors very proudly.
They do. And it's the red dirt, not quite orange, but the red dirt that they're on here. What a place to be battling it out for a Paralympic medal. Philippe Chatrier Court at Roland Garros. It does not get any better than this as far as clay court tennis goes. So the Dutch pairing of SCHRODER and VINK. SCHRODER, it is to serve. 2-1 up. Hear the line judges calling out loudly. Of course, there's no electronic line calling here. You can see the marks in the red brick. Swinging a little more freely there, Sam SCHRODER.
Talk about the marks. I would imagine by Roland Garros next year there'll be electronic line calling on this.
It's inevitable, you would have thought. It's coming in. It's in at all the other Grand Slams.
And they say, well, you can see the mark. It's not necessarily just that, so it's it'll be in by next year.
Oh, right idea, wrong execution. Yes, you can see a lot of marks. You can't always see the right mark. Exactly. It's the question, as we've seen throughout the tournament here. Which mark are we looking at?
And it's the chair umpire's job to come out of the chair, and then they're the ultimate decision maker.
It's always wonderful when some of the fans forget that 2 bounces are allowed and one of the players manages to dig it out from ground level. Excellent rally, great movement, great push there from LAPTHORNE. Look at that as well to finish it off. Cheeky.
And classic movement and classic touch from LAPTHORNE with that backhand. That was cheeky right back, though. VINK is not going to get outplayed by anyone. And if he thinks that LAPTHORNE's going to get cheeky, he's going to get cheekier back. Yep, there you go. You want to do that backhand? I can do it better than you.
Prior to that, we saw a good classic doubles move, which is hit it as hard as you can at one of your opponents. Oh, the banana. Look at that one. That was a curveball. It was a curveball change-up. A Bugs Bunny change-up that was. So 3-1. SCHRODER holds comfortably. And the Dutch pairing are 3-1 up in the second set, having taken the opener 6-1. Back around to LAPTHORNE to serve. Down the middle is always a good option in wheelchair doubles.
Good option in doubles, period. Beautiful, too much. That's what VINK has done for the last couple days, and so confident just to get on top of it with the racket head acceleration. Let's take a look real quick, and I'll talk through this a little bit, so I won't stop on right at this point. Just look, if you're serving, what you're seeing as a returner, right, as a server, sorry. So you're seeing 2 people at the baseline. VINK has to return it, but you've got 2 people, so it's actually a little off-putting. That's a little bit of a mind game right there, which they've done on this side. But then also the reason they're doing that is because SCHRODER needs to be able to be in motion and push himself back over to that forehand side. So again, the Dutch doing really well with the movement and how they move with each other.
Yes, in doubles you can stand wherever you wanted. You don't have to be placed left or right.
No, but when you like normal doubles, you wouldn't see that too much as a return.
Not at all.
So,
not at all.
But it's like you're returning against two people. Or you're having to serve against two people. So it's definitely a mental thing as well.
And it's a break to love, and SCHRODER and VINK lead by a set and 4-1. Time called by Antonija Drazic in the chair. Has time been called on the campaign of Lapthorne and Slade? They find themselves a set and 4-1 down. It was tight to open the second set, but the Dutch pairing really seemed to have been getting into their stride. VINK now to serve. And again to the point, look at the way they're setting up there, and that is SCHRODER, yes, to get a push and get himself underway.
Again, VINK really pushing forwards, trying to look for that volley, and then putting the opponents under pressure too, because they know that if they don't hit a good ball higher, obviously over his head or wide enough, VINK's going to come in and push it away with that volley. Not sure what the forehand was that set that ball right there for Lapthorne just to be able to come in and rip the forehand, but
straight down the middle, took it on the second bounce, waited for the waves to part.
And in that rally, that was just pure. If you saw a couple times there, VINK was moving in and SCHRODER was moving back, and then they switched. So again, one up, one back. You can't have the two up because the lob, it's such a, obviously if you're in a chair, it's hard to get back for the lob. So that's why you're seeing them switch. And so much communication in that point.
Really hitting their straps now.
Second service.
Good ball from Lapthorne. Good topspin, good depth.
Well, SCHRODER had come in a little bit on the previous lefty forehand and was already in the process of going back and was caught a little bit in between.
That's beautiful. Lapthorne pushed in, took that return early. Just really soft hands. A lot of movement coming forward, so didn't have to do too much with it. Just put his racket out in front, kind of let the ball pop off.
Yes, it landed about 6 inches over the net. That was beautiful. Juice. Haven't had too many of those in this match. Just goes long, and it is indeed a hold. It went via a circuitous route, but VINK holds, and SLADE is now going to have to serve to keep the Brits in the match.
Dutch have played a nearly flawless match. I mean, a couple of unforced errors here and there, and just really steady from SCHRODER in the back, and then really aggressive from VINK coming forward, and not only the forehand, but the slice backhand being so effective.
Oh, the angle on that one. The freedom of receiving for the match. On the smooth forehand down the line, they had lots of room to hit into there. SLADE trying to shake himself loose. Obviously, when you're serving to save the match in a Paralympic final, then yes, the shoulders are going to tighten. Love 30, 2 points away. Pressure? What pressure? How about that? Beautiful placement, great choice of shot there.
It's actually really hard after you serve to recover because you don't have that momentum going forward. So either the down the line or the return right at the player when you serve on the return is very effective. I think that's what he was trying to tell himself he needed to push because he couldn't get started.
Niels Vink, the shot of the match. He saves it for 15:30 in what may be the final game. Sets up a gold medal point with the cheekiest of sliced inside-out backhands.
Just amazing hands.
It's into the net, and SCHRODER and VINK have successfully defended their crown from Tokyo, defeating LAPTHORNE and SLADE, the number 2 seeds, 6-1, 6-1 in just over an hour. The Paralympic champions for 2024, Sam SCHRODER and Niels Vink.
What a match. What a great match for the Dutch team, near perfect. And what a great tournament it's been for LAPTHORNE and SLADE. SLADE playing his first Paralympics, getting a medal. I mean, other than getting gold, you can't really do much better than what they did. So, but these two deserve it. They're the 2 best in the world in the quad division right now, and they played solid, and just super happy for them to be on SCHRODER, this iconic court. And they've also just won, they've completed their career Golden Slam. They've won all 4 Grand Slams, and also now the gold medal too. So they've the first ones to complete that.